Okay, so then we have Jenna and Whitney. They pretty much meet up, for like some food because Jenna felt like there was some tension because when they was at their house for dinner, it did kind of come up that it was a little, rough for that session. So this is my whole thing, right? I think personally that Jenna was full of shit at this meetup, and I'm gonna tell you why. So when they're having a conversation, right, Jenna is trying to understand like what's the issue here? Like you think I have a problem with you or something like that, and um, I'm sorry, Whitney says that to Jenna, and then Jenna's like, well, before we kind of came here, to this camp together, somebody told me, that you didn't like me. So I was thinking maybe that's why the energy was weird. And Jenna was like, Whitney was like, hold on. So somebody told you before you came to that camp that I said that I didn't like you. Like, who was the person who said that? And so Jenna's like, oh, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. She's like, it does matter because whoever said that is lying. And this is my whole thing. This is why I feel like Jenna is full of shit in this moment. Because unless it was cut out by Netflix, right? Could be, don't know. At no point in time did Jenna say that in the previous episode when she was like talking in her confessional about what her issue was, and when she was talking to Steven about what her issue was, with Whitney, she never said, "Oh, I think the energy is weird because somebody told me she didn't like me." She felt like the energy was weird based off of that one session that they did together. And she felt like, there was just weird tension off of that session. Now, once did she walk in there saying, oh, well, I'm a little nervous of going in here with Whitney because somebody told me that she didn't like me. So I think that she just felt weird off of that session and didn't know how to just say, I feel like you don't like me based off of what happened that day. Like, you could have just said that. I don't know. I thought that was weird, and I don't believe her. Sorry, don't believe her. So they pretty much sit down, in a little room or whatever, and Shabuzi comes up on the screen. Shout out to Shabuzi. And Shabuzi pretty much tells them that he wants a song that's pretty much like gonna make like the crowd do something, kind of like call them, not even necessarily call them responsible, will make them dance. I'm gonna tell you what it is. Shabuzi is pissed that he didn't get boots on the ground. That man is upset. Could y'all imagine if Shabuzi was the one that did boots on the ground? He already out of here. He be out of here. So I really think that's what it is. He wants his Cupid shuffle, boots on the ground, stepping. Well, not stepping in the name of love, Jesus. But y'all know what I mean. He wants that moment. Okay. So what I will say about the songs that they did come up with for him after he said that, they didn't listen to shit that man said. I want y'all to respectfully, the songs that they came up with were cute, but when I'm telling you, they didn't listen to anything that he said that he wanted, which is why I feel like we'll get to the end, but he didn't really even pick a song because they didn't really listen. He said he wanted a song that was gonna have people like where he can like give them instructions to either dance or whatever or call and response, and that's not what y'all did. But anyway, so we have Ben, Harv, Trey, and Jenna. And Ben and Harv are kind of clashing a little bit because they don't really agree on the concept. Ben, because he's like a country writer, Harv feels like he wants to stay in the traditional country bag, and that's not Shabuzi, which I would have to agree. Shabuzi is not traditional country. He's a mix of honestly like hip hop and country. It's a little bit of both. So it's like that's what kind of gives him his like standout feature a little bit. So to kind of put him back into this same traditional country box might not work for Shabuzi. So I agree with that. Then they have J Hart, Ferris, and Nova Wave. Now I like the idea of the song Tarantino, which is them pretty much talking about how he went from, it's like his started from the bottom song, right? Like, I can't believe that my life is like this now. Like Tarantino, it's like a movie, but I didn't really like the word Tarantino. I don't know why it feels like it's too many syllables. I don't really like that part. And then you had Seven, Tommy, Whitney, and Steven. First of all, I just want to say excuse me, Tommy, you out here with the hoes, huh? Again, I see you. We see each other. Okay, Tommy, we see each other. Tommy be outside is the point. So, because they're all just sitting around talking, right? And Steven was like, men were not meant to see like this many like bad bitches or whatever, like on Instagram, whatever. And so Seven and Whitney is just kind of looking at him like, you're in a whole ass relationship. I think they're just looking at him crazy because like, you're in a whole ass relationship. Why would you like say that? And Seven feels like Steven really want to be outside. Like, that's how she feels. So the song that Seven and Tommy and Whitney came up with was my favorite song because I think the hook is fire. And it goes a little something like this. I'm going home for dinner. Love that. That hook is fire. That hook, again, Shabuzi didn't choose anything at the end, but I want to say something. That needs to be cut by somebody. Don't know who wants it. Don't know who's going to step up to the plate, but that song needs to be cut by somebody. That shit's so fire. So fire. But at the end of that, right, Seven pretty much says, like, a little shady. She's like, I'm so happy, to be single, after like talking to these two and putting this song together. Cause I just don't really know what men want. And Jenna's just like, I see you, Seven. I see you. So then we have Harv, Trey, Jenna, and Ben, and they come out with a little more. I do like the pre-chorus, but I felt like the hook could be a little bit more polished. And I don't know if it's necessarily for Shabuzi, but I think the song was okay. And then we have Nova Wave and J Hard and Ferris. Now, I didn't like Tarantino, but I really did like the VVS Cowboy. To me, that was what they were trying to do. What was the other song that I just said that felt like 2010? When they was doing country. So that's what I'm saying. Like, VVS sounds like country, but it sounds 2024-ish, if that makes any sense. So I really, really like that a lot. And then, so at the very end, right, we have Harv, Tommy, and Ben, and they're all like at the bar talking, and they're like, Harv is like, did y'all see like what happened at the table that night? So let me say something. If that would have been me with my wife, 6 feet under. He was like, I don't like that. I don't like all that disrespectful shit. And that's one of the few things I tweeted. I was like, which we'll get to later. I was like, I love the fact that they checked him about that. Because, like, disrespectful. Completely disrespectful. Alrighty. And then from there, we are going to Cabo to go write for Usher and Lisa, right? So we're starting off with writing for Usher. And obviously, Seven is super, super hyped. We love Usher. We know that. So, before, everything gets started, it's Harv, Tommy, Trey, and I think J Hart and Whitney. They're all kind of, just like at the bar chilling. And they're talking about how one of the last nights, in the Bahamas, how Steven was just going off. And he pretty much, Steven said that, I guess he had maybe heard how, like, Trey was like a little bit emotional, like, during his sessions, and, just how he kind of broke down a little bit, during the listening session. And he was like, pretty much said that he felt like Trey let that get in the way of his creative process, of like his own creative process. And that if it was Steven, then everybody would have made a big deal, and he shouldn't have let his feelings spill out all of it like that. And I'm like, Trey is taken aback, and so am I, because I'm like, first of all, let me go back and do my Googles, right? If we're talking about when he was crying, right? He did that session with Nova Wave. So I'm not understanding how that had anything to do with you. And even if it did, it's not like he didn't act like you. This is my thing, and this is where I'm about to get pissed off, Stephen. I'm so sorry. I gotta go off on you for a second. When you was with Nova Wave the day before, Simply because your laptop wasn't working, you completely shut down and had a hissy fit. Literally threw a hissy fit, walked out, didn't contribute for a little bit, walking around drinking, doing this, doing that. But he had a second. He walked out, he gathered himself, and he came back and he delivered. What are we talking about? And the song that they delivered was better than the song that you delivered. So why is it okay for you to be having a moment, but he can't have a moment, and he still provided and delivered what he needed to? What are we talking about? And Trey had an attitude and was upset, as he should have. And he was like, my whole thing is like, y'all, if that's how he felt, you or somebody should have woken me up and just said that, versus like trying to talk behind my back, because I don't do that about people. Like, period. And Jay Hart was like, everybody else was trying to like, try to cover for Steven, like, oh, it wasn't that bad, and oh, I don't think he meant it like that. And Jay Hart was like, no, it sounds like it's coming from somebody who's insecure as fuck, and I would have to agree. That's my thing, Steven. Oh, it drives me up the wall. So talented, but an ass. Because what was the point of that? Why are you talking shit on him? For what? So then, we get to meet, they meet L.A. Reid. Obviously, L.A. Reid and Usher's ties. And it comes out, that Jay Hart helped write Kissing Strangers, which is... That song is so underrated, Jay Hart. My heart hurts for you how underrated that song is. What a song. I love Kissing Strangers. That's my shit, okay? So we have Ben, Tommy, and Whitney together. And Ben pretty much throughout this writing session, he didn't like the way that Tommy was like leading them. He felt like because this is R&B and this is more of like Tommy's wheelhouse, that Tommy really should have been the one that was like leading, and that he should have just kind of like, fell back and just kind of taken his lead a little bit. And, Tommy, just kind of doing his thing. And, eventually, he ends up, like walking out and walking to, other people's sessions and stuff. And Ben literally had a whole attitude about it. He's like, why is he walking out in the middle of sessions? And my thing is, let's go back to what I said at the top of this. We just went through this with Harv. You had an attitude because Harv decided to step out and go in there and play on the drums or whatever. And when he came back, he had something fire. And it seems like, because this is not the first time he did it, it seems like Tommy seems to like, just kind of bounce around a little bit and go here and do this and do that. And maybe that's his creative process. So why is it that you can understand that literally a week or so ago, or however long ago that was, for the last writing camp, but you can't understand that? Let everybody have their own fucking process. Everybody doesn't create the same way, and you got to give people the space. And again, I don't understand how, if you just learned that about Harv and realized that, why you couldn't do the same for Tommy. Didn't make any sense to me. Then we have Jay Hart, Seven, and Jenna and Steven. And this daggone one was a little bit rough because, okay, Steven, walking in said he, kind of picked up on the fact that, Seven felt like, she should lead, this because, she's into R&B, and they're more of pop writers. I feel like, yes, it was that, but I also feel like I know that they probably, that like Steven and Jenna like understand like how big and how, massive Usher is, but like that man is really an icon, like a walking icon, and we hold that man real highly. Like, we hold that man, he up here. Like, he's really up there for us. And so I think Seven, because creators are sensitive. I think she may just really be sensitive to how Usher is handled, because something that she kept bringing up, which is so true, is that we need to figure out what's next for Usher. And if you're really like an Usher fan, you would know that that's one of his biggest critiques, is that it seems like sometimes Usher like tries to either get stuck with like the time that he's in. He seems to like just kind of like go with the sound of the time versus like creating and shifting and making his own lane, which is what he should be doing within his music because he's an icon. So I feel like that's where Seven was coming from. Yeah, she was a little bit much, but I just think she's very sensitive about Usher in general. Usher is very fucking important to us. He just really is. Not to say he's not important to y'all, but it hits a little different. And so, her, Seven, and Jenna kind of get into like a little quick little moment. And then when Seven is like talking and singing and she's trying to get her shit out, like Jenna kind of comes over like, oh my gosh, just, trying to be touchy. And Seven was like, no. And Jenna got offended by that. My thing is, I hate when people invade other people's personal space and then get upset that you push them away or you say no. Not everybody wants like their personal space invaded, period, whether I'm in a sensitive spot or not. And Seven said, when I'm creating, I'm in a very sensitive, special spot, and I don't need certain people I don't need certain things. And the point of the matter is, even if that was the case, don't touch me. Be excited, but it's like me talking to my daughter. Be excited, hun, but keep your hands to yourself. Really just that simple. And then we have Harv, Nova, Wave, and Trey. He kept saying, God bless Harv. You what was he saying? Unanimum? I'm like, Harv, please. When he was trying to say unanimous, God bless, God bless, God bless, God bless. So, Harv and Tommy, right, they pulled Steven to the side. And like I said, this is the tweet that I had put out when I was like, I'm so happy that like they pulled him, to the side to try to check him out about this. So they pretty much pulled Steven outside and they're like, look, we just wanted to kind of talk to you, about the whole dinner and how you cut Jenna off and it just came off real disrespectful. And Steven was like, well, my whole thing is, like he pretty much was saying that Jenna was drunk. And he was like, I didn't know how to like cut her off without cutting her off. So I wasn't trying to be rude, but she pretty much was just like running her mouth too much because she was drunk as hell. And Harv was like, well, the point is like, there's a way, him and Tommy was saying, there's a way of doing that, of trying to, get her to calm down or not talk as much without you doing it that way. And like, I don't know if Tommy or Harv said it, but one of them was like, you could simply just be like, hey y'all, can y'all give us a second? Hey, come on, baby, let me talk to you for a second. It's really just that simple. Pull her in the room and say, hey, do you need to lay down for a little bit? Or hey, you kind of talking a lot or whatever, like you a little lit or whatever. Let's kind of calm it down. But there's a way to do that. Like, you don't need to be trying to check your partner in that way in front of other people. That's where the disrespectful part is. So when you say, oh, I wasn't being disrespectful, it may have not been intentionally, but that is disrespectful when you try to like, I don't want to say chastise because he wasn't really chastising. You're kind of like dismissing your partner. There's a way to handle that. So I love that they checked him on that. But of course, Steven being very, defensive is like, you know what, at the end of the day, she didn't feel no type of way about it or whatever. And I don't care what anybody thinks. As long as she's cool, that's all that matters. And Harv was like, okay, I hear you. But a lot of shit has gone on in the music industry, especially recently. And we have to hold each other accountable as men. I'm like, let's talk about it, Harv. That's the problem, is that men don't hold other men accountable. And the thing is, it starts off with small shit like that. It starts off with small shit of like, oh, I'm gonna cut her off while I'm playing music, to, girl, don't nobody want to hear nothing you gotta say, to like, that type of shit will escalate. And people need to say shit ahead of time. Like, shaming needs to be brought back. We need to start shaming people again, okay? So I really, really like that part. I love the fact, shout out to Tommy and Harv. Black Kangs. That's a good man, Savannah. That's a good man, Savannah. Okay. So, again, so I said that there was one day of the camp that I didn't like one song, and it was Usher Day One, which was so disappointing because obviously I love Usher. So for me to not like any of these songs is crazy. I did not like Unanimous because I agreed with Jenna that I felt like the word unanimous and the hook and the title was just a bit too much. I did not like that. No, and the lyrics didn't feel natural. I didn't like it. Then we had Ben and them, and they did Location, and they gave like 2010, 12-ish kind of Usher, and I didn't really like the auto-tune. Didn't really like that song either. I didn't like the song. So then we have everybody, they just kind of chilling together on the, I don't know if it was the beach or something. And Trey pretty much pulls Steven to the side to like pretty much check him about talking about him. Like, long story short, he told him, I got up and said in front of the group, if you got some shit to say it to my face. Don't be talking shit about me behind my back. Say it to my fucking face. So then, we see Jenna and she talking to Steven about, how she just feels like her and Seven didn't connect. And Seven is telling the other, group, I think they went out to dinner or some breakfast or something, that she felt like Jenna doesn't have, like, direction. And Steven is more so like, y'all start and then I'ma follow. Like, I'll jump in after y'all kind of start. And she doesn't really work like that. So that was all right. So then we kind of get to this dinner, right? And Blue, who's in Nova Wave, pulled Jenna to the side. Because, again, everybody was really stuck on the way that Steven, like, just kind of cut her off. So Blue pulled Jenna to the side. She was like, woman to woman, like, no bullshit. Like, are you good or whatever? And so Jenna was like, yeah, I'm fine. And she was like, okay, because just the way that shit was at dinner, like, we didn't like that shit. So when Jenna comes to the table, right? She brings it up in front of everyone, and she's like, this man, this is what kept killing me about Jenna. She's like, this is the best man. I've never had a man treat me as good as Steven has treated me. And again, this is no shots at all. It's going to come off like this, but it's no shots. But my whole thing is like, when people say that doesn't really mean much to me, because what that implies is that the last person treated you like complete shit, right? So you could literally just be going from the sewer to the trash, and you would think you're going from the sewer to the clouds because it's an upgrade. Still shitty ass person, but they're just not as shitty as the person before you. So it's like, that doesn't help me, Jenna, at all, right? And so then Seven pretty much chimes in, and she's like, well, we just felt like as women. And then Steve's like, no, Seven, like, pretty much told her to like shut up and like, it's none of your business. And I didn't like that, Steven, either. I think that was extremely disrespectful, the way that you talked to Seven. And my only issue is that nobody at the table stood up for Seven. Like, Tommy did say like, why are we still talking about it? It's not a big deal. But I don't like how nobody stood up for Seven, because I did not like the way that man was talking to her. We're all sitting here at this table having this conversation. These aren't siloed off conversations. She's talking to the entire table. And then when Steven is mad, like, why are we still talking about this? Well, your woman is the one who came to the table and brought it up. Blue specifically pulled her to the side so that y'all didn't have to do this. And then your woman still decided to come to the table and bring it up in front of the group. So if you're going to bring it up in front of the group versus maybe just Tommy and Harv, because she said that Steven told her about what happened, then yes, if I'm sitting here, I'm going to put my 2 cents in if I'm Seven. I thought that was extremely disrespectful, the way that he talked to her. That shit really pissed me off. But long story short, it ended with what he said before. He don't care. Jenna said she didn't feel disrespected. You know what, girl? If you like it, we love it. You like it, we love it. Moving the hell on. So, Trey and Seven, they kind of go out together to the beach, and they talk about, like moving forward. So then we this is the second day of writing camp. Everybody kind of goes and do their thing. So the first song that we have is with Seven, Harv, and Whitney. And they have this song called Rose Gold. Love it. Love it. Love it. That is an Usher song. That's an Usher song that sounds quintessential Usher, but it's still a little bit forward thinking. Love that song. Loved it so much. Then we had Tommy, Steven, Trey, and Ben, Mile High. This my shit. This my shit. Love Mile High. Love it. And again, I'm going to need Lucky Day on this. I don't care. I'm going to say it again. I need Lucky Day. Trey floated on this record. Floated. And I think Usher would be good on this, but it just really gave me like Chris Brown on Lucky Day. Loved it so much. And then we had J Hard, Nova Wave, and Jenna. And I love that Nova Hard came and slammed that Cuff It Grammy. Slam the Cuff It Grammy. Like he said, you better slam that Grammy. Slam it down. So they come up with Can't Relate, and I can definitely hear Usher, like singing it too. But this is where it gets a little shady, bitch. So the minute that they're like, yeah, we made this song, it's called Can't Relate, Ben is like, he pulls out, he's like, And now when they said it, I'm like, that does sound familiar. Now, when they were in Nashville, right? And it was J Hart, Harv, Ben, and Whitney in the session together. Um, they were just kind of talking, and J Hart was like, "Yeah, she's saying can't relate." And then Ben was like, "Ooh, like that's a really good idea." And at that time in that scene, they showed that he said, "You know what? I'm just write that with y'all names down next to it." And at the time, I was like, "Why the fuck would he write their names next to it?" I thought that was weird, but now I understand why. Looking at this again, this is why this is a good show. You learn things. So he leans over to the worst person possible, which is Steven, and says, while the song is playing, he was like, "Yo, like that's my concept. Like I came up with that idea. Like, you think I should say something?" And Steven is like, "On camera?" And he was like, "Yeah, say that shit." Steven, you're messy. Steven, you're messy as fuck. You're messy. And that's how you know next time, Ben, to go with your first thought and don't be listening to people. Because people always gonna line you up. Don't listen to people. Go with what you know and stick with that. So once the song goes off, right? He's like, Ben was like, so, like, you don't remember the fact that I'm the one who came up with that idea? And J Hart was like, no, like, I have it down in my notes for ideas, but I don't remember that you specifically came up with it. So Ben is heated. He's pretty much pissed, like, going off as much as he can about how he was like, how he felt about, like, pretty much trying to say that he pretty much like stole the idea. He was like, well, I specifically put everybody's names down when I'm doing these type of things, and I have y'all names specifically next to this. And so somebody was like, girl, just tell us how much you want in publishing, because nobody got time to be here all day. And you could tell, I think it was Blue that was really, really like pissed off. Like, Blue was real mad because she was like, she didn't like the way that Ben did it. And I thought it was messy the way he did it too. Super messy. Did not like it. So Ben in his confessional was like, I'm not trying to be that person, but this is how I feed my family. And if, let's just say, this turns out to be like a really, really big hit, then I would get nothing off of it. And it's like, I hear you, but there's a way to handle that, and that wasn't the way to handle that. It's not like the song was cut and done and handed over to Usher. That's as simple. Once it's done, once the cameras is down, you sitting J Hart to the side and having a conversation with him about whatever it is that your problem was, and y'all could have handled it like grown-ass men. That was a very much so Real Housewives, Love and Hip Hop ass fucking moment, and you need to do better, Ben. You're better than that. Don't do it again. Don't want to hear that shit. Okay, and then the last person that we have them writing for is Lisa, which is a pop star. So we have J Hart and Ben, and they have a conversation, like I said. And again, J Hart pretty much tells Ben exactly what I said. He didn't like the fact that he called him out like that. And Ben was like, I actually feel terrible. I'm like, good, because I didn't want to have to curse you out. But he pretty much said that, Ben said the reason why he got so sensitive is because he just recently had a situation that was similar, where he wrote a song with somebody based off of an idea that him and somebody else came up with, or according to the other person they did. And now he has to go through all of this legal stuff to try to figure out whether or not he owes that person money. So I get why he kept the names written down. And again, they can figure that out on the back end on how they want to come up with that, right? So that was what it was. So then we have 7 Shy, because Nova Wave finally, I won't say finally, but they broke off or whatever. So you got 7 Shy from Nova Wave, Ben, J Hart, and they come up with the song 11. I really liked that song, and I could hear Lisa on it. Thought it was fire. Then we had Steven, Jenna, and Whitney. They did Back in Business, which it's definitely a K-pop song, but it was giving me more like Black Ink. But I can also see why Steven and Jenna gets chosen to write K-pop songs, because they do very well at it. And then we have Blue, Trey, Tommy, and Harv with a song called Hot. I think it could be refined a little bit, but I do think that it can go to one of the pop girlies for sure. So that was pretty much like the last camp that they did. I liked 11 the most out of all of those songs. So then everybody gets together at the very end to go to dinner, and Tommy... Come on, Tommy pulling up with the Ace of Spades bottle. Tommy was dropping the bag. The bag was being dropped. He ordered everything on our menu. That's a Black Kang right there. That's a Black Kang right there, okay? So, They talk about, now we're going through all of the songs that was presented. So Trey and Tommy presented the songs to John Legend. He didn't like Rescue because he felt like it was too much on the nose, and he felt like it's not a new and fresh idea, but he really did like Cherry, which I'm glad he liked Cherry because I love Cherry. Then Seven and I think Harv went to go see L.A. Reid. They played him Unanimous. He didn't like it because he said he didn't feel an emotional connection. But they played Rose Gold and he loved that song. He said if Usher doesn't take it, he wanted to give it to somebody else. Loved that song. And then Lisa said that she may cut 11. Which was, the song that Seven of them came up with. It just has to be refined a little bit. And then, like I said, Shabuzi didn't choose a song, but somebody else is taking Happy Birthday to Me. So happy for you. So happy for you. So in total, we have the songs that were picked from what we know is Cherry, which is Harv, Trey, and Whitney. Then we have Rose Gold, which is Seven, Harv, and Whitney. Shout out to Whitney twice. Then we have 11, which is Seven, Shy, Ben, and J Heart. Shout out to Seven twice. And then we have Happy Birthday, which is Nova Wave, Seven, and Tommy. Shout out to everybody who got placement. I really, really liked the show. And I really hope y'all come out with a season 2. But I've talked long enough, child. Get in the comments, some of y'all think I'm out. Bye.